Hello, this is Mrs. Ferguson again with Lesson 2 for Unit 1, which will focus on claims and evidence. As a reminder from Lesson 1, the College Board has organized all the skill objectives and essential knowledge into 4 major categories. Since Unit 1 is designed to build foundational skills for the course, our focus this unit is on rhetorical situation and claims and evidence. Before we move into our lesson to focus on claims and evidence, let's briefly review what we learned about the rhetorical situation. When we look at the rhetorical situation, we acknowledge the context, the time and place a speaker is communicating. Within the context, there is a specific moment that ignites the speaker to communicate to their audience. This is what we call the exigence. When communicating, a speaker must consider his, her, or their audience's collective and individual beliefs, needs, and backgrounds. Considering the audience is essential so that the speaker can achieve their purpose, the very reason why they have chosen to communicate their message. Of course, the speaker is communicating because there is a subject he or she or they want to address. So what we need to understand is that speakers and writers make claims about subjects, rely on evidence to support the reasoning and justify the claim, and they often acknowledge or respond to other possibly opposing arguments. Today's lesson will primarily focus on claims and evidence. We will briefly discuss reasoning, however, we will not start to dive into opposing arguments until Unit 2. With the knowledge we gain from this lesson, we will be able to identify and explain claims and evidence within an argument, and identify and describe the overarching thesis of an argument. First, let's begin with reviewing what an effective claim is. Effective claims require defense and provoke interest, rather than simply stating an obvious known fact that requires no defense or justification. An argument can be composed of several claims. There should be an overarching claim, which is usually supported by minor claims. The College Board primarily refers to this overarching argument as the thesis. A thesis is the main overarching claim a writer is seeking to defend or prove. A writer or speaker's thesis is not necessarily one sentence or even an explicit statement. When a thesis is directly expressed, it is called a thesis statement. Depending on how an author chooses to organize his or her text, the thesis statement can appear at the beginning or end of the text. So we need to be able to identify and describe the overarching thesis of an argument. However, how do we do this when it is not always explicitly stated? Well, it requires a thorough reading of the text, an examination of the author's evidence and reasoning. This will help you answer the question, what is this text about? And what is the author saying about this subject or topic? Your response should be complex and a defensible claim. So to recap, the thesis is a speaker's overarching claim. This can also be referred to as the speaker's argument or message, and if you are analyzing literature, we call this the theme. So, though this course focuses on nonfiction texts, the skills you have learned the last couple years in English class transfer. The skill building you did to determine theme of a work of fiction can be used to determine an author's overarching thesis when it's not explicitly stated. Now that we have talked about claims, we need to discuss how speakers and writers defend their claims with evidence and reasoning. And to do this, I made this amazing drawing. That was a joke. To illustrate how evidence is the foundation for an argument. Without evidence or a strong foundation, the argument is going to crumble. And now the reasoning is what links the evidence to the claims. We can think of these as the pillars or the enforcement beams. An effective argument contains sufficient evidence. This includes both quantity and quality. Strategically selected evidence strengthens the validity and reasoning of the argument, and it ideally should relate to an audience's emotions and values and increases a writer's credibility. This is a reminder of how a speaker's audience matters. The audience determines an author's choices. The types of evidence the author chooses impacts 1, the strength of an argument, and 2, how it relates to an audience in order to 3, achieve an author's desired intention or purpose. So an audience's message and purpose all dictate the types of evidence that the author includes. This is a list of different types of evidence you may encounter or choose to incorporate in your own writing. This isn't a complete list, but it covers the majority of evidence we see. It could be a list of facts, anecdotes, analogies, statistics, experiments, testimonies, examples, details, illustrations, expert opinions, personal observations. Take a quick minute to think about a commercial you have recently seen or heard. What type of evidence did they use? Was it testimonials? Maybe a list of statistics? Now think about the book you are reading this summer. What types of evidence is that author using? Again, to reiterate, it is crucial that the speaker is strategic when selecting their evidence, because these choices are the very foundation of the author's argument. So how does this knowledge help us achieve the reading skill objective to identify and explain claims and evidence within an argument? Well, we need to ask questions about the text we are studying. In order to be able to identify claims and evidence, we ask, what is the speaker's argument? What evidence does the speaker use? What type of evidence is it? In order to explain, or in other words, analyze, we ask, how is the evidence effective? How does it validate and defend the claim? Why does the speaker use this type of evidence? Does the evidence relate to the audience? How is it appropriate for the context? These are questions you want to be asking yourself in regards to your summer reading book. And these questions will help you with the writing of your essay, which is what Lesson 3 will be about. If you have been watching, thank you. I will see you on the next video.